Did I say that already? I'm quickly gonna run through all the books that I talked. Oh, this is not in any order because I am already going in the backwards order. So I guess it is kind of in order. Okay, so it feels like it has been 1,000 years since I've been on here, but I made like 4 videos in March. March has just been like the craziest, longest month of my life. Probably everyone's. And with all the extra free time I've had, I've not used it for good. I've used it for Netflix. But that is okay. You gotta do what you gotta do in this madness. But I'm gonna run through the books I read in March. And now most of them I've already actually talked on for quite some time. So this video is kind of like really just for one book because I haven't gotten to talk about it. So in March, I did the Backlist Readathon, which was just 2 weeks ago. Or was that 3? I don't know. It feels like it was 4 months ago. But I did the Backlist Readathon. My goal was to read 6 books. I completed 3, which honestly, I'm so pleased with, as I've said a million times. I'm so happy. I read 3 books. Adding to it. I read 3 books. I had not been reading like at all. I had read 2 books all year. So now, after the Backlist Readathon, I'd read 5 all year. And then I have 1 more book to talk about. So I've read 6. I'm going to quickly run through all the books I read for the Backlist Readathon. Super quick because I've already talked about them. So, The City of Brass, which was my #1 favorite. Oh no, my fingernails, don't look at them. My #1 favorite from the Readathon. This is a Middle Eastern fantasy, like epic fantasy. I rated it 5 stars. It's amazing. It's kind of big, but don't let that intimidate you because it's actually only 500 pages. I know that's still kind of a lot, but it's not as long as it looks. Okay, I also read The Thief by Megan Whalen Turner. Wallen, that's how the audiobook's saying this. I absolutely loved this book. It was like everything you want in a fantasy. It was like this quest and interesting characters and cool like backstory for like how the world was created, kind of like their folklore and I don't know, creation stories, you know, things like that. Super, super good. It was like, there was a time when I was like so tense. My heart was like beating so fast. It was great. And I hear the series keeps getting better and better. So lastly, for the Backlist Readathon, I read The Electric State by Simon Stålenhag. I feel like I'm talking about this book all the time. Also 5 stars. Everything I read was 5 stars. Crazy. This is about a girl who's traveling through like this almost post-apocalyptic America with her little robot. And there's been like a big battle of like these huge war drones or bots or whatever. So there's just like huge robots like littering all of America. And there's like dead bodies everywhere. It's a lot. But there's like amazing drawings. I flipped through this book on YouTube, I feel like so many times. I mean, like, it's so pretty and crazy. So it's really fun to just kind of take your time and go through it. That's kind of a spoiler. It's just like a different America. Like these are billboards. So it was really interesting to read through it. It took me like an hour and a half. I highly recommend this. I'll be reading it again, so it's not one that I'm going to get rid of after reading. I loved it. And it's like so pink. I mean. All right, and for the last thing that I read in March, I actually finished this before the Backlist Readathon, so it was like, I read this before the Backlist Readathon, and then I did the Backlist Readathon, and then I did nothing. I mean, I'm like reading some stuff, but I did not complete any books, which is okay. But I finally finished Goodbye Days by Jeff Zentner. First of all, I love Jeff Zentner. I'm not big on like contemporary books. I like a story with more like otherworldly concepts and characters and whatever, just fantasy or like, I don't know. I don't always love reading about just like today in America. But Jeff Zentner does it in such a way that like the characters are also lovable. I don't know, it makes you think of think differently of people. And, you know, the idea that like everyone's going through something. And of course we all know that, but like, it's true. And this is his books are a great reminder of that. Cause it's just like these normal kids going through crazy stuff. All of his books also take place in Tennessee, and I live in Tennessee, so that's really fun. This is in Nashville, and so it talked about like all these places I'd been in Nashville, or all these streets I'd been in Nashville. I have friends that live there, so it was just like this cool, like, I felt like a deeper connection to the story because of that. But I guess I should say what it's about. Goodbye Days is about this boy named Carver who he has like this really close friend group. There's 4 of them all together, and 3 of the boys were in the car on their way to pick up Carver, I believe. And he texted them and said, "Where are you guys? Text me back." And the driver of the car took out his phone to text him back and wrecked the car, and all the boys died. So Carver is like left, all his friends have died, and it's like, I mean, he's seeing it as his fault. And this book really talks through like just the feelings of guilt and whether it's his fault and why it is his fault and why it isn't his fault. It's just like going at it from all directions, which is really interesting. I believe it was the boy that was driving whose dad is a judge, and he's like trying to press criminal charges on Carver. And they're like kind of trying to make an example out of him for the dangers of texting and driving. So it's just, I mean, it's heartbreaking and heartwarming, and his characters are just, I feel like I've said this before, they're just so lively, and like, I mean, it just feels like he's writing stories about real kids. It's just, I loved it. I loved all his books. Highly recommend this. It's super easy to read, and it's just beautiful. It's wonderful. I think I gave it 5, maybe 4 or something. I think it was 5. Loved it. Also, if you guys haven't noticed, I kind of like just freely give out 5-star ratings. I'm not a tough rater. I judge books basically purely on my enjoyment. Like Sarah J. Maas books, I used to rate them 5 stars all the time because I had so much fun reading the books. Then you take a step back and you're like, these books aren't really that good, but you love them. So that's kind of my rating system. It's just like, here, have a 5-star. Here. Unless I'm like deeply hurt and wounded by something in a book, it won't get less than 3 stars. Ever. So here is my March reading wrap up. I am so happy because I more than doubled my like reading list for the year so far. I'm just proud. It's like a trophy. I love them. I recommend all of them completely. Let me know if you read any of these because I love to talk about them.